I'm Reese Snellgrove, and my husband and I, Keith, have been members at St. John's for probably about 4 years, almost 4 years now. We retired up on Lake Kiowee, and we decided that we wanted to move closer to family and friends that we had left many years ago. Today I've been asked to talk about the word discomfort. But we all have discomforts, whether they're pain physically, pain in our minds, pain in our hearts. We go through difficult times and we go through discomfort. I started thinking back of when have I been uncomfortable? And when has God put me in a place to be uncomfortable that He would have to guide me through that uncomfortableness and put me on the other side and get me out of my comfort zone to help me grow in my faith. And so what came to mind is women of the ELCA. For those of you who do not know, I'm the current president of Women of the ELCA for South Carolina. But this is not my first rodeo. I have been in many different synodical organizations and churches for women of the ELCA. And I feel like all of that uncomfortableness and discomfort that I was put in at the very beginning has allowed me to sit in this place today and share you my story. So I grew up in a small town, West Columbia, South Carolina, and so did my husband. We went to the same church. We were girlfriend and boyfriend, maybe in the 6th and 7th grade, and we fell in love. We thought that it was love, but we were young. So over the years, Keith had to go off to college. I stayed in West Columbia. I continued my life there. He started a new life and ended up moving to different places because of his job. But this little tiny country girl, I guess you can call me, I didn't seek out other places. I stayed close to home. I wanted to be near my family. I got married, grew up still as an adult at Mount Tabor. Had a child, and at a very young age, I guess I was probably 20, maybe 21, 22, I was asked to start a young women's group at Mount Tabor. And I had no idea. I had seen the women do their little duties at Mount Tabor, and they were so happy to do that. They were always comforting other people, making meals, and I thought, how can I be a part of this organization when I'm young, I work, I have a child? But I took that challenge and I started a young women's organization, just a circle there in Mount Tabor. And I have to tell you, we started off probably with about 6 to 8 girls, who I call them my girls, and we went through everything together. We witnessed marriages, we celebrated babies, we celebrated new jobs, we did everything. We were connected at the hip. And we also shared sad times or bad times in our lives when we lost loved ones or we lost jobs or we had miscarriages, and especially going through divorce. They carried me through my divorce, and I didn't think I could function without my girls. Well, Keith and I reconnected a few years later, and he was still living out of town, flying back and forth. He had business to do. and he was able to visit. And so we were dating and just getting to know each other again. And one night he called me and he said, I've been transferred to Houston, Texas, and I won't be able to come and see you as often as I am now. So he said, I would like for you and Cherie to move with me. And my first reaction and my gut reaction was, heck no, I am not going. I'm not leaving my family, especially my parents. And there was no way that I could take Cherie away from her grandparents and leave my friends and my work, the life that I had in West Columbia, South Carolina. I didn't feel like there was another life outside of that town for me. And so only a few hours after I called my mom and dad and started crying and carrying on because I thought I had lost another love of my life, or the love of my life, my dad and mom showed up, and my dad sat me down on the couch and he said, Reese, God has placed this man in your life, and he loves you, and he loves Cherie just as his own. And don't you worry about me and your mom. We're gonna be fine. Don't miss out on this opportunity for love. So the next few days was eventful. Keith asked me to marry him, and I said yes. So the hard part came when it was time for me to pack up and leave my parents and my friends and my church. And so I get to Houston, and of course I was just in self-pity. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to go anywhere or do anything. I didn't know anybody. And Keith had lived there a couple of months before I got there. He had been attending a church, Lord of Life Lutheran Church in the Woodlands. So he had been getting the bulletin, and one Saturday morning he woke me up early and he said, get up and get dressed, you've got a place to go. And I said, no, I don't. He said, yes, you do, get up, we're gonna go somewhere. And I just kept pestering him. I was like, where are we going? Where are you taking me? And finally he said, the little church that I've been attending is having a one-day women's retreat at the church, and you're going. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm not going. I didn't register. They won't have room for me. I don't know anyone there. I will be miserable. I'm so homesick. I'll cry all day. And he said, doesn't matter, you're going. So he basically forced me to get dressed. He put me in the car, he drove me up to the front door of the church, and he opened the door and he said, get out and go in. And reluctantly I got out of the car and I kind of hung out in the parking lot a little bit, and then I saw other women going into the church. So I walked into that door, and can you imagine how uncomfortable I felt when I looked around and I did not know anyone in that room. I walked up to the registration desk and I told them who I was, and that I just moved, and that I wanted to attend their retreat, and was there room for me. And before I even got those words out, there was a woman that came over and grabbed me and pulled me aside, and she introduced herself as Mary Markowitz. Mary introduced herself. She took me around and started introducing me to the other women, and all day long she stayed with me. To the point that when it was my time to share that day, I shared my story of being homesick and missing my family. And Mary sat there, and not only did she comfort me, she cried with me. And before long, all the women in the room, they were crying as well. And at the end of the day, I felt like I had found my safe place, that I was able to be myself, tell women my feelings. And it wasn't long before I was involved with the synod for Louisiana, Texas, Louisiana. And I became involved in their synodical board. But that didn't happen just once. Throughout Keith's career, we moved several times. And every time, it was me and the kids that had to change our routine. Keith just picked up his desk and moved to a new state, but we had to start our lives all over. And I have to honestly tell you, the reason why I'm here and the reason why I have a passion for women of the ELCA is because with every move that we've made, I have found my safe place. And those churches that have accepted me as a woman of God and shared their faith with me. They took the uncomfortableness and made me so comfortable that that was the only way that I could seek out new places and new experiences in my life. So do I think God put me in that discomfort, that uncomfortable place? Absolutely. Because he told me, get out of your comfort zone. So I want you to think now, what have you done lately to get out of your comfort zone? What are you doing for others to comfort them when they are uncomfortable? What are you doing with yourself when you are uncomfortable? How are you getting out of those uncomfortable situations? Because for me, I know that God put me there. And during those times, I have grown my faith in Jesus Christ. And I can't thank him enough for making me uncomfortable.